Okay, well, nice evening to be out, and it doesn't seem to be any mosquitoes, and
I was wondering about that.
yeah, and yeah, beautiful big tree, nice shade. So, yeah, so we're T for Three. We don't do mostly traditional English material, but there's some French and other tunes from other places that creep in. In fact, this first set of tunes sounds English, but the first one's Scottish, and the second one is from Cape Breton. It's Mrs. Grace Bowie and Squirrel Up a Tree.
We call this the end of the pier set because it sounds exactly like the music you would hear on a English seafront with Kiss Me Quick Hats and donkey rides. Oh, sorry about that. Kiss Me Quick Hats and donkey rides, and that's actually where I grew up, and then Scarborough in Yorkshire. So these tunes remind me a lot of the end of the pier. Kind. That was a good warm-up.
So second set of tunes is a cross-channel collaboration because the first one is French. It's called Bourrée de Zanzan. And apparently that just means weird bourrée. And it's followed by an English tune called Nine Men's Morris, which is also a game.
later. Okay. So I'm going to sing. I'm going to sing. The popularity of a good folk song depends on how many people die, how they die, how many verses it's got. 92 verses is considered a good length for a folk song.
Child ballad.
And what else? Some witchcraft, some wizardry, anything to do with stuff that's not understood is the hallmark of a really great folk song from a few hundred years ago. So the one that I'm going to sing is not 92 verses long, etc., etc. It's only got 4 verses, so you're going to be fine. And it's only got 1 broken heart. So I'm not sure that it's hugely popular as popularity goes, but hopefully you will enjoy it. It's got a refrain. So at the end of each verse, there's one line that is your chorus. And so the last line breaks into 2 bits, and the first bit you sing 3 times, and the second bit you sing once. So we'll see how it goes. And it's called It Was Pleasant and Delightful. Please join in. It was pleasant and delightful one bright summer's morn, when the fields and the meadows were all covered in corn, and the blackbirds and the thrushes sang on every green spray, and the larks they sang melodious at the dawning of the day, and the larks they sang melodious, and the larks they sang melodious, and the larks they sang melodious at the dawning of the day. You got it. A sailor and his sweetheart were a-walking one day. Said the sailor to his sweetheart, I'm bound far away. I am bound for the East Indies, where the loud cannons roar. I must go and leave you, Nancy. You're the girl that I adore. I must go and leave you, Nancy. I must go and leave you, Nancy. I must go and leave you, Nancy. You're the girl that I adore. So the ring from off her finger she instantly drew, saying, take this, my dearest William, and my heart will go too. And while he stood embracing her, tears from her eyes fell, saying, may I go along with you? Oh, no, me love, farewell. Saying, may I go along with you? Saying, may I go along with you? Excuse me. Saying, may I go along with you? Oh, no, me love, farewell. God, what's the last verse? So it's fare thee well, me Nancy, I can no longer stay, for the topsail is hoisted and the anchor is weighed, and the ship she lies waiting for the next flowing tide. And if ever I return again, I will make you my bride. And if ever I return again, and if ever I return again, and if ever I return again, I will make you my bride. Maybe. Maybe. I bet he never came back. Sorry about the brain fart. Never mind.
Hamsters all of. I even forget songs in the shower.
What, do I do the lockup?
Okay.
A set of tunes, the lockup and Enrico, and Gwen wrote the lockup, not while she was in a an incarcerated state, but it's that's another story. It's where we locked up all the musicians' gear at the Mill Race Festival, and she was sitting there playing this, and I said, "What's that?" She says, "I don't know. I just made it up." So we called it the Lock Up, and Enrico is a traditional English tune that apparently was a favorite of the author Thomas Hardy, who was actually a fiddler and folk tune collector.
I wondered if they had sessions down the pub back then.
I think they did, yes. Yes. We're adapting the set list as we go, which is what we do most of the time. You create a set list and you think, this is going to work really well. And then you think, oh, well, wait a minute, I think it would be better if we did this. So first tune is La Belle Marionette, which is written by Gwen's friend Sally Gorton in Guildford in England. Even though it has a French name, it's written by an Englishwoman, and it's followed by a tune called The Plane Tree, which is also written by an Englishwoman, but it's an English version of a French tune. So if that's not confusing enough, never mind.
I love this tune. It's fantastic. First time I heard it, I went, oh yeah, I'm going to steal that one, no problem. Right?
Thank you very much.
This is good. Got an audience with no children. So I can trot out a fairly rude song. Because I like rude songs, they're fun. And it's not only is it rude, but it's also religious. It talks about God and everything. Hope there's nobody in there's going to be upset by this.
Can't see any reason why they
But
should.
it's called the Tower of Babel. It goes something like this. A long time ago, in a town called Babel, the mayor and all his henchmen called the people to the square, and he said, I'm going to build a tower so tall that I'll be able to speak with God in heaven if he's there. For there's nothing I can't do if only I imagine it. God can't stop me now or keep me from my dreams. If he's the God that he's cracked up to be, then surely he'll look up to me, a loyal and trusted partners in his schemes. But the people gathered round him in the square weren't keen, for his courageous schemes were apt to end in tears and sweat and blood, and not many had survived the worst disaster ever seen, his irrigation scheme, what caused a nasty flood. So he went into the crowd for loyal teams of labourers to volunteer to work for him and build his grand design. And his henchmen were inventive, used the very best incentives. That's the whips and change they favoured at the time. So the project started well, and as the weeks went by, with increasing pride, the mayor would strut amongst the bustling crowd. And after many months, the monstrous tower rose up so high, it seemed to disappear into the clouds. But God looked down, and he said, you're in my airspace. I'll have to stop you now, and as I'm God, I found a way. So take this as a warning. When you wake up in the morning, you'll find no one understands a word you say. So the mayor slept very badly, and he turned up late to address the morning workforce. They were waiting in suspense, and he spoke to them of business plans, benchmarks, targets, mission statements. Not a single word he said made sense. So one by one, the workers drifted homewards, but the henchman called them back and said there's no excuse to shirk. There's no time for fun and frolics. Yes, the mayor is talking bollocks, but who cares? It isn't him that does the work. So the henchmen got their flip charts. They were in no doubt they could motivate the workforce with discussions frank and full. And every time they tried to speak, these alien words came pouring out like something from the arse end of a bull. So one by one, the workers drifted homeward to laugh and dance and sing and do the things that people should, while the mayor held training sessions introducing new expressions, and the henchmen smiled to show they understood. So it was, the Tower of Babel finished incomplete, and God saw that it was good and smiled and then went back to bed. But the mayor could not accept he'd been defeated or discredited. He rescheduled a completion date instead. And he downsized the workforce and he made the henchmen managers, and they loved their new language because they'd sod all else to say. Now round desks and boardroom tables, in countless other Babels, people still like talking bullshit to this day.
That was actually written by a guy named Trevor Carter, who had been the town planner for Stafford in England. So I think he knew what he was talking about.
Just enough voice there before it gave up. That's all right.
Shepherd and Shepherdess?
Hey?
Shepherd and Shepherdess?
Ooh, ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, ooh.
We like this set of tunes.
Shepherd and the Shepherdess and Maiden Lane, and they're both 17th, 18th century English country dance tunes. So, golden oldies.
Right.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3,
we'd like to tell you about our instruments, which are possibly a little bit unfamiliar. I'm playing not a violin. So if anybody's got a bit bored and they've been counting how many tuning pegs I've got, I wonder if anybody can tell me. 11, very good. You deserve a brownie. And so I play 5, so it's like a 5-string violin. There are some of those around, but I've got an extra 6 that run underneath the fingerboard and add to the sound. They're called drone strings or sympathetic strings. You can come up afterwards and come and have a look. They're called sympathetic strings because when you're sad, they go, "Aw." And it's got a very different shaped body from a normal violin. I don't know whether you can see it's got these slopey shoulders and a very fat body because it's not a violin at all. It's called a viola d'amour, which is a viola of love. And it's a copy of a viol from the family of viols that were around in the Baroque times. There's this one, the viola d'amour. There's a bigger one that you play between your legs called a viola da gamba. There's an even bigger one that you stand up to play called a violonello. And they were around at the same time as the violin family. So viols and violins ran alongside each other for a while.
Is that the smallest one of the family then?
This is the smallest one of the family.
Didn't know
So,
that.
a viola d'amour.
And it was made by Phil Ellsworthy in
Yeah.
Waterloo. Yeah.
This is what in Britain is known as a melodeon. And it's also known as a button accordion or a diatonic accordion. Or if you're in Newfoundland, it's just called a cordine. What you doing, boy? I'm going to go play some cordine. And it's effectively 2 harmonicas with lungs. So this plays exactly the same way a harmonica does, except there's 2 of them. So this one's in, and it plays a different note, push and pull. So if that's your root note, that's a G, it would go push, pull, push, pull, push, pull, pull, push. That was clever, wasn't it? Yeah, and the same would be on the D row. Push, pull, push, pull, push, pull, pull, push. And if you can do that, you can do anything with it. It's just amazing. And on the left hand, you've got all the chords. So G's and D's and E minors and C's. The fact that note there is the only note on the entire machine that plays the same note, push and pull, which is a C in this instance. It's a great note. I really like that note. I know. And they're ridiculously easy to play. Trust me on this one. If I could play one, anybody can.
It's like patting your head and rubbing your tummy at the same time. Don't listen. Don't believe.
But
what
it's
he
a bit
says.
like when you first get one, you don't know whether to lock yourself in a dark room with it for a week or throw it through the nearest window. My wife was always hoping I'd throw it through the nearest window, but she couldn't get the allure. But anyway, yeah, melodeon.
And this thing that looks like a mandolin on steroids is not a mandolin. It's called a cittern, cittern, not to be confused with the sitar, cistern, or citron. It's one of a family of instruments that's been around in various forms for hundreds of years. There's the national instrument of Portugal is one of these. They call the Portuguese guitarra. And then there's the Spanish instruments, and they're very popular in Elizabethan times. They used to hang them on the walls in barber shops, those particular versions, because those are like ukuleles. They were very easy to play, and customers could entertain themselves while they're waiting to have the barber. The barber surgeon was what they were in those days, so they might be cutting their hair, they might be pulling their teeth, they might be letting their blood. They could hang around and wait or leave. So it's a cittern. And you don't find these hanging on every music shop wall, that's for sure.
The thought of that is quite horrific.
So anyway, we'll play a couple more English tunes. First one is called Jack's Maggot, and maggot has nothing to do with a worm. It's not somebody's pet worm. A maggot meant is a type of dance. It meant something light and insubstantial and of no real importance. And it's followed by another one called Blenheim House. Got it? Got it? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to... There we go.
Okay. Now we're going to do something that hopefully is not too ill-advised. I'm going to do something. And Gwen might do something as well.
Oh, okay.
She might. I'm going to sing a song that we haven't prepared, and I've never actually sung in public.
You never say that.
You never say that.
No. No, I don't see why not. It's probably one of the best-known Canadian folk songs, but it's usually sung very fast and very jolly, and it's actually a really sad song. So I'm going to sing it very slowly and very sadly, and hopefully not do a sad job of it. Let's get my cheat sheet out. The sun was setting in the west, and the small birds sang on every tree. All nature seemed inclined for the rest, but there never was no sleep nor rest for me. So farewell to Nova Scotia, your sea-bound coast, with your mountains dark and dreary be. When I am far away o'er the briny ocean tossed, will you ever heave a sigh and a wish for me? I grieve to leave my native land. I grieve to leave my comrades all, and my poor aging parents I love so well, and the bonny, bonny lassie that I do adore. So farewell to Nova Scotia, your sea-bound coast, with your mountains dark and dreary be. When I am far away o'er the briny ocean tossed, will you ever heave a sigh and a wish for me? I had 3 brothers, and they're at rest, their arms lie folded on their breast. And a poor simple sailor just like me will be tossed and driven on the bright blue sea. So farewell to Nova Scotia, your sea-bound coast, with your mountains dark and dreary be. When I am far away o'er the briny ocean tossed, will you ever heave a sigh or a wish for me? All the drums they do beat and the wars do alarm. Our captain calls, we must obey. So farewell, farewell to Nova Scotia's shore, for it's early in the morning and I'm far, far away. So farewell to Nova Scotia, your sea-bound coast, with your mountains dark and dreary be. When I am far away o'er the briny ocean tossed, will you ever heave a sigh or a wish for me? Will you ever heave a sigh or a wish for me?
Very good.
Very much.
There's something about that. I've got 3 brothers and they're dead, and I've got to go to sea. I wish I was dead too. That's what it sounds like, doesn't it?
Well, Gwen was talking about a true folk song has all these people that die in it, so that's, you know. Although what a lot of people don't know is that the song was originally an adaptation of a poem by the Scottish poet Robert Tannahill, and somebody just changed the location from Scotland to Nova Scotia. So. Right. How about the mazurka? The sound, mazurka, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. A couple of French mazurkas, and if anybody's curious what a mazurka is, it's kind of like a drunken waltz.
Oh, come on, Paul.
I can't pronounce the names of these, so. You know.
Got it. Just had the wrong note. You notice that we don't have any music. All right. We don't have any music in front of us. On the other hand, we've got about 10 million tunes in our heads. And sometimes trying to drag one out of the holding tank is a little bit difficult. And you only need 3 notes. In this case, it's... And, okay, yeah, I know it now. All right. So, this is La Mazurka Les Pleurs.
Thank you. No, although those are French tunes from France, it is probably a good thing to mention that today is a special holiday for the Acadian people. It's international. I think it's called International Acadian Day, and there's big celebrations, particularly down in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, and all kinds of fantastic things that they're doing to celebrate their heritage. So, happy Acadian Day. We got time for a couple more? Yeah? The teapot?
Oh, yeah. So, during COVID, Gwen and I would get together against the law
Socially distanced.
on a Sunday.
Honest,
Sunday
we were.
Sunday afternoon. We would get together and sit in her living room and drink gallons of tea and play tunes.
I wasn't there because I was in Nova Scotia.
You missed out. So I get to the door one time, and Gwen opens the door, and she's all pleased, all happy, and says, "I've just written this tune. Would you like to hear it?" And of course, me being, yes, I'd love to. I really do. So she starts playing this tune, and the A part is just like, has got me hooked. This is lovely. And it gets to B part, and it goes somewhere else. So where did your tune go, Gwen? It just like disappeared. Didn't make any sense
Away with the
whatsoever.
fairies.
Not to itself and not to the A part. Being stupid, I said to her, "The A part's lovely, Gwen, but the B part's no good. I don't like it. It doesn't make any sense."
I've never known you to be so
And-
blunt like that. Never.
And of course, being all proud of a new tune, she got really grumpy with
I
me.
got huffy. I got huffy and cross. And so I said, "Well, you write the B part then."
And I'd never written a tune in my life. So I sat down there, and I remember because it was stormy out, and it was pouring down the rain outside. I'm sitting there with this cup of tea, trying to think of how do I get out of this. When all of a sudden the tune came to me.
It did.
It just like found my fingers and onto my keyboard, and it was like, oh, hey, look, we might have something here. So he named the tune the Teapot, because that's what we do when we're drinking gallons of tea. And then we followed that up with a tune called the New Helston Furry Dance, written by
Dave Shepherd. Dave Shepherd.
Dave Shepherd, of course. It's called the New Helston Furry Dance. It's got nothing to do with little animals. There's a yearly event in Helston in Cornwall where pretty much the entire town dresses in white, and there's a progressive dance down the main street. It's fantastic to see. So Dave Shepherd wrote an alternate tune to the one they use, so that still fits. It's a lovely little tune too. But the teapot. Right, the A part is Gwen's, the B part is mine.
Restart.
Thank you very much.
So I think this is the last one. Yeah, it's about that time, isn't it? Yeah. So a couple more instrumental tunes, both of which are not traditional. First one was written by a guy named, was it Martin Bennett? Mike Bennett. Mike Bennett in England. And the second one, Paul needs to talk about.
I'll tell the story. I was fast asleep, snoring my head off, having this wonderful dream. Me and Brad, somewhere in England, drinking pints of beer and playing tunes. And we're sitting on a dry stone wall, somewhere, probably in the Cotswolds, because that's where he likes to be. And we're drinking the beer and playing the tune, and he's playing this tune on an English concertina, which is interesting because Brad doesn't play English concertina at all. It's very strange. But anyway, we're playing this tune, and all of a sudden I wake up, just like somebody had plugged me into the mains. I wake up and I've still got this tune roaring in my head. So, oh crap, I've got to get this. So I jumped out of bed, grabbed the box and started getting under my fingers before it flew the way of all dreams. And damn me if I didn't do it. It was amazing. So I put this tune under my fingers and played it all day. Must have driven the neighbours nuts. But played this tune all day until I was quite happy with it. By that time, I'd actually put some clothes on. So, and I decided to call it the Dry Stone Hornpipe. So I trotted it out. I told the story first, and I trotted the tune out at a session. And Smartass here says, "You know, you're playing that wrong." True.
So the first one is called Chutney Girl, and the second one is the Dry Stone Hornpipe.
Before we go, thank you very, very much for coming out and having a listen. Oh, beautiful setting. Yeah, absolutely stunning.
Thank you, Earl, and thank you, Dave.
Carolyn.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the next time we're playing here in the area locally is going to be Saturday, August the 24th for the Galt Porch Party, and we'll be playing in front of Ferguson Cottage down on Water Street, just by Barnacle Bill's Fish and Chips. So, but thank you for coming out. Thank you for listening and not throwing things.